I'm Angelina Jolie, and I'd like to adopt a child from every country in the world. I collect children. Hell no.
Scars from off my back. I don't need them anymore. You can throw them out. Keep them in your mason jars. I've come
Yes. What is your name?
Isaac Allen Scott Model.
And where are you from?
I'm from Africa.
My name is Jocelyn Motter. I'm an Aries. When I was 24 years old, I was working at an orphanage in Mexico. I had tried to adopt this little boy from Mexico, and I wasn't able to. And I was going to go to Africa. I was going to get out of LA for a month. I had a hiatus between shows, and I wanted to get out of the city. And I called this orphanage, and I said, hey, can I come work for your orphanage in Africa? And they were like, yeah. And then they said, look, we have this little boy who we can't find a family for. Nobody wants him. Do you know anybody who's looking to adopt a 7-year-old little boy? And I said, well, send me the photos, and I'll take a look, and I'll pass it around to families I know. And they sent me a picture of Isaac. Most parents will lie to you. And they'll say, the first time I saw my child, it was like the heavens opened and it was like, ah. When Isaac walked out, first off, the kid had no drawers on, no underwear on. He had these like giant pants on that were sagging and his little butt crack was sticking out. And he walked out of this crappy looking orphanage. It was so dirty. He was wearing like a shirt for like a 1-year-old on his little body. And he walked out and my first thought was, holy shit, I'm adopting a dwarf. That was the very first thing I thought. And then he kind of looked at me and he gave me the same look and it was like, holy crap, you're the one I got. And then as he sort of looked around like, where's my dad? Like he's the kid who gets the weird white mom without the husband. Like he got totally screwed. So for me, it was shock. I was completely shocked. And it probably took us 20, 30 minutes before he would even look at me. And even in the photos that I have, the very first one, I'm holding him and I'm smiling and I'm like, I'm a mom. And he's got this look on his face like, oh my God. Like he was so mad. And then the next picture, like I started tickling him like an insane person, hoping to get him to laugh. And I got him to laugh out loud from tickling him. I'm like, take the picture so he looks happy. You know, we had this picture where we're both laughing and it's such a fake picture. And from that point on, we were inseparable, but the first few minutes didn't go well at all. We were both like, really? Like that's who we're getting? Less than a year after he came home, he had to go to the hospital and have spinal surgery. We went in, they said, this is going to be a 4 to 6 hour surgery. We're going to straighten his spine. He had a 148-degree curvature, and actually it wasn't just a curvature, it was called a kyphosis of the spine, which is where the spine doesn't just curve around like a snake, it actually spins and comes out of the body. Like it doesn't break the skin, but Isaac literally had a shark fin on his back where the spinal cord pushed out. And it was one of the worst they've ever seen in the country. He was by far one of the worst spines. And they said, you know, we think we can fix it in about 6 hours. 21 hours later, we're the only ones left in the waiting room. They come out and they're like, we lost signal to his legs. He's not going to walk again. And we then spent what should have been a 4-day stay in the hospital turned into 90 days. We left the hospital. He couldn't walk. He was in a wheelchair. And everything else we had gone through was nothing. And after we took him home and he was going to start physical therapy outpatient. But they said to him, they said, you will never walk again. You're done. And his response was, watch me. Within a week, he was holding onto the walls in our hallway, taking one step and falling over. He could do 1 step a day. And then it was 2, and then it was 3. And then before we knew it, he was snowboarding. And after that, he was horseback riding. He got stronger and stronger and stronger, and now he wrestles. And he can run a mile in 13 minutes. Not really run, hop. He can Forrest Gump a mile in 13 minutes. And, you know, I can't even run a freaking mile in 13 minutes. Like, I cannot make my body move that fast. He has legs that do not work. He cannot control his legs, and he can do it in 13 minutes. we've had a hard time finding a sport that Isaac can do. He's very physical. It's really funny that the kid who's paralyzed from the waist down wants to be athletic, because it's like, dude, not really in your stars, you know, like this is not going to happen. So we've really struggled to find something. He snowboards and stuff like that, but he's never been like awesome at it, and he doesn't really love it. And then one of the students at Drexel University met Isaac, took one look at his shoulders and was like, have you thought about wrestling? Have you thought about having Isaac wrestle? And I was like, no, not really. Don't you need legs to wrestle?
I've got it here. Something his elbow in. I'm squeezing his chin and his elbow together, pretty much. Just think of it like that. I'm bringing his elbow to his chin, bringing it in. Then I post over and scoop around. All right? Do it again.
You know, I get very emotional when I watch him wrestle, because as a parent, I want to protect him. Like, because he's fighting, I want to protect him, but I can't protect him. This is something he has to do himself. He's got to fight his way off that mat. He should not be able to do what he does. He should not be able to even walk onto the mat, and yet he does it. He shouldn't be able to flip a kid over his head, and yet he does it. He shouldn't be able to dominate another kid during a wrestling match, and yet he does it. And yet Isaac found a way to overcome that, just like he's found a way to overcome everything he's done in his life. I mean, this kid has had every single bad thing that can happen to you. It's happened to him. He's watched his brother die. He's watched his best friend be killed. He's watched his family leave him and abandon him. And in his mind, that's what they did. They dumped him. Whether they did it for a good reason or not, that's how he sees it. You know, he had to leave everything he knows. He comes to America, the land of opportunity. He ends up paralyzed. He's told he's never going to walk again. He finds a way to walk again. Like, everything that's been stacked against this kid, if it happened to me, I would have given up a long time ago. I would have been sitting in a wheelchair, rolling around on disability, because and I'm a strong person, but you could only take so much. And yet for him, he doesn't know how to turn it off. He doesn't know how to turn off the drive to keep going. And watching him win today was the single greatest thing I've ever watched him do. And like, he thinks I'm ridiculous. He looks at me and he's like, it's okay, you're crying, Mom. It's fine. I understand. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't get it. Until you have a little you, you're never going to understand it. But when you do, and even my mom said the same thing, she's like, watching him. I mean, my mom was in the hospital when he was paralyzed. She watched this kid cry in a bed because he couldn't move his legs. A little kid who loved to run around before he entered the hospital that day, and now, wakes up and can't move. How traumatizing that is. And to see him in less than 3 years go from the kid who cannot move his toes to winning a wrestling match against a kid far superior to him, it was incredible. Go.
This is our love, the love grip.
Chips are launching from my chest. Some have names, but most do not. If you find one, please let me know.
I can't dance either, I'm white.
I've lost
And I can dance because I'm black. That is our family.
off my back. I don't need them anymore. You can throw them out.
In our family, we see no color.
Some jar